If you really look at the whole thing, we have to look at a theology of dominance that starts really with in the Hellenistic period with Alexander the Great. It goes through. By the time you get to Constantine, Christianity has adopted the theology of dominance. Prior to Constantine, there's a book called Early Christianity, which Dr. Freeman, I'll send to you later so you can put in the resources. But it talks about how there was upwards of several hundred forms of Christianity by the time Constantine comes around, and they were all based on culture. You see the beginnings of that when Jesus is relating to Jews. He says, "I am the fulfillment of your history." He relates to the Samaritan woman. The Samaritan woman. I'm a fulfillment of your history. When you get to Paul, he gets to Athens. He's like, "Look, let me tell you about the unknown God. Jesus is a fulfillment of your history." And you find that, but then Constantine institutes in Christianity that this theology of dominance, and we like to talk about Constantine and Adventism about the Sabbath, but we don't talk about what I believe is the true Babylon, which is white supremacy, rooted in the theology of dominance that was instituted by Constantine. And at that point, you then have the Christianity adopts this theology of dominance, and then you have Europe begins to spread across the world, and in every land they get to, what they met with almost exclusively is people who have a peaceful and accepting spirituality and culture. There's an author called Rutgers Bergman, who has a book called Humankind. Humankind, as in humans are kind. And he talks about how we have been, he doesn't say through white supremacy, but and through Christianity, so through European traditional Christianity. But I've made that connection that we have been taught that humans are inherently bad. The humans are inherently bad, where the Bible tells us that we are made in the image of God. And so, according to the Bible, humans are inherently in the image of God. So humans are inherently good. But when Europeans with this theology of dominance get to these lands, they're able to dominate these people, commit genocide, enslave people, because they're met with people who are open to accepting the stranger. That's why now you have Western nations that don't want the strangers, because they realized that when they were strangers, they acted in a certain way, and there's this inherent thought that the stranger is going to do to us what we do to the stranger. And so now you've adopted in Christianity this theology of dominance. And so now you have Seventh-day Adventists who believe that if you're not Seventh-day Adventist, then you are part of Babylon, that you're not going to heaven. Now you have in Christianity this thought that if you do not believe everything that is the main doctrines and dogma of Christianity, then you cannot go to heaven. That if you're
Right.
Muslim, you can't go to heaven. If you're Buddhist, you can't go to heaven. If you follow traditional indigenous ways, whether it's from Africa or India or whatever, Central America, then you can't go to heaven. It's this theology of dominance. And so when we have been inundated and taught this theology of dominance, it becomes part of our thinking. And so you have situations, the tribalism that we visited earlier between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. You have when Africans come to America, they think African Americans are lazy, but then African Americans are my brother-in-law. He always tells me that when he first came to the States, all the African American kids called him an African booty scratcher. He's like, they call me that name every day at school. And you have this tribalism where we then try to dominate each other because we have been taught through white supremacy this theology of dominance. When we hold revivals, what do we call them? Not just revivals, we call them crusades. We call them crusades.
Yeah.
Like our entire theology is built on dominance, but that is not only opposite to the character of God, it is opposite to who we were before we were victims of genocide and victims of slavery. That's not who we are, which begs the question, and I'll end with this, is what greater reflects the character of God? These traditional cultures and spiritualities that were kind, accepting, like there's exceptions. The generalization assumes the exception. But when the Europeans landed on these lands, they were able to dominate these people and take these people over because these people reflected the character of Christ. even if they had not yet picked up the New Testament, they reflected the character of the Creator. And so when you come with the character of the devil, you're able to start killing these people because they were accepting. And so I think that we need to realize that the reason why we view each other a certain way, and we feel the need to oftentimes resort to this tribalism where we want to dominate, where we have these implicit biases or oppressive attitudes, as Dr. Claudia Allen said. A reason why we have this hesitancy to accept indigenous things, whether we originate in Africa or in different parts of the world, if you're part of Christianity, and especially sometimes Adventism, is because we have been taught this theology of dominance, and it is contrary to the character of Christ. And if we are to get into the character of Christ, we will find often enriched by these traditional things more than what has been handed to us through European traditions.